Welcome to the PeakDay podcast, where we discuss fertility and natural family planning with our friends. Today's guests are Josh and Alison Matson. Josh and Alison live on a mini farm in the middle of Washington State with their 4 children. Alison is a farm girl who grew up just down the road from Josh's cousin. Josh is a country boy whose path crossed with Allison's for over 15 years before they finally met in person at age 20, and they've been together ever since. Allison's parents were a CCL NFP teaching couple who helped guide them in the symptothermal method, which they've used successfully for 25 years. Josh and Allie enjoy sharing their story and the benefits of NFP with young couples who are seeking a healthier way to communicate about and monitor their fertility. Thank you, Josh and Alison, for joining us on the PeakDay podcast.
Thank you, Martha. We're happy to be here.
So, Alison, your parents, were NFP teachers, and you probably learned from a young age from them all about fertility awareness. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just remember going to our church as a little girl when they were doing classes and, just playing with my friends. But growing up then and when we met and knowing that we didn't want to use, especially go on the pill, I just talked to my mom about it. And it was great, back then, 25 years ago, we had to mail in our charts and stuff and show stuff. But it was nice just to have my mom there. So that was sort of my introduction to natural family planning.
What about you, Josh? When was the first time you heard about natural family planning?
Sure. So after we met and started talking more about marriage at Washington State University, at the Newman Center on campus there, our sister there, Sister Rosalie, held a pre-engagement class. And so it was an opportunity for all the couples to get to know each other a little better if we were thinking about getting engaged. And so part of that class at the Newman Center included a NFP primer, really, some videos and a discussion about it. And so it was really an introduction to me. And then that spurred on some more questions and conversations with Alison about what she knew. And also with my brother, who had been married about a year before us. And so he had a little bit of information as well that he was learning along with his wife. So that's kind of where I got started.
And Josh was great about being able to read things and just throughout all the years. And, just with post-pregnancy and now we've gone through perimenopause and we've just went over the hump and now we're in menopause. So he's just been great, a resource of looking up stuff and being able to help me with that and being my downer when I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So
right. It is so nice to have that partner to bounce things off of, to, have that other set of eyes, right, to look at your charts. Yeah. So Josh, let's talk about how you participated, like in the day-to-day use of NFP. Like, what was your role?
You bet. So we already mentioned taking temperature. That's a pretty clean one that my mother-in-law told me I was going to do. So I'm a good son-in-law. So yes, I'll take temperatures. I'll record temperatures, and I'm kind of a nerd. So it was great to get the book because now I can study the book, and it was very interesting to me to learn about natural fertility patterns and the signs of fertility and the rules. How organized it is and how biblically based it is and works with scripture. So that was kind of my side of like Alison mentioned, of participating, that I would really did a lot of research and reading and asking questions. We didn't have as great back then when we were learning. We didn't know, besides for parents, like who to bounce ideas off of. So I wished I would have asked more questions back then of other people. I wished I would have had like the friends we have now that are teaching couples. Like that would have been great to have conversations with someone like them. But we tended to use like written resources, which were very handy. But so besides, charting and research, we kind of, I would help lead as much as possible communication, and what's the chart look like, what are the signs, and what's your fertility status. So just trying to be part of the conversation, really, and helping each month as we go through the month, where you're at, and really having holistic conversations from there. It's like, do we want to have a baby this month or not? How do you feel? What's life look like? Through the different phases of lack of employment and the adventures you go through as a couple, and a couple different health issues on Allison's part. So just trying to be helpful through that, and making sure everything's out in the open. Really, it's been great for us. We like to brag that we don't really argue. We have our agreements, but we don't yell, and that's not how we communicate with each other. We try to just talk things through, and so that kind of starts in the bedroom, right? That this is where our basis of communication starts, and everything else can kind of flow from there. And we tell this to our kids at youth group too, that it's really easy to talk about finances and job issues, in a relationship, when you can talk about what's going on in the bedroom first, and that's kind of out of the way. And so now it flows to those other items.
So it sounds like communication was a big part of, using natural family planning and talking about your fertility. Would you say that is like one of the big benefits, along with, knowing your cycle, of learning natural family planning, is that communication?
Yes, 100%, 100%. And we know some of the statistics. I don't know what current, the divorce rate among NFP couples is so low. And I really feel it's like 3%, I think, is the most recent number we've heard, but it's so low because we feel like you have to communicate about how your fertility is, where you look, versus if you're using some kind of contraception, it becomes more of a combative approach of like, well, you didn't do your side of the deal or whatever. You didn't take care of business on your end, versus with NFP, it's communication. It's a decision together that you make. It's no one's operating in a silo or a vacuum. And yeah, absolutely. Communication's great. And that's something before we got married too, we really talked a lot to try and get better at communicating, because we wanted that in our relationship. We wanted to be able to have open and honest conversations with each other. So that has helped us tremendously in NFP and the rest of our relationship as well.
Was there any part of natural family planning that you found to be difficult, either of you?
I think more so for Josh, just the abstinence part. But sure. I always joke I could just become a nun. If something ever happened to Josh, I would just, go join a convent.
It's so different for men.
Right. And, I think as women, you take care of the house, you take care of the kids, and it's like you're just tired, exhausted. You're just done. It's like, that's
right. Yeah, so I didn't grow up with this concept. I mean, abstinence was like something in your brain that before you're married, you're going to be done with abstinence when you're married. That was kind of a concept,
Yeah.
Like, so now you're married, now you have to abstain. It's like, what? What do you mean? So over the years, just grown tremendously in the virtue of chastity, and really have reached out to St. Joseph. I mean, he has been fantastic to me, and I just feel like he is not emphasized enough now, and it's starting to grow. Just men really need to ask for his intercession. He's an amazing saint. He lived a life of chastity his whole life with Mary, and he's just an amazing man. So ask for his intercession. I consecrated myself to St. Joseph recently, and
beautiful.
He's just amazing. He's a great example of multiple aspects of fatherhood and family life and work lives. But yeah, the periodic abstinence is challenging. it gives you a chance to grow in other ways with your wife and share other interests. And
Right.
as you have children, it's like you're giving attention to those kids and they need it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's
Your relationship can benefit in so many ways from that time of abstinence. Right.
correct.
And what season in your fertility life cycle was the most challenging? And then do you have any advice for those going through those kind of times right now?
Well, I mean, and I think because Josh is like, gosh, going through perimenopause, you have to abstain the whole time. It's like, no, you still chart, but with my circumstances of being on methotrexate, it was just like, that was a different circumstance that hopefully not the majority of people are doing. So I think, just the uncertainty of my cycle in that part. And then also just after having babies and breastfeeding, my mom was always like, oh, nurse, and your fertility will come back so much later. And every baby, it came back at 10 months. Hey, those are probably the more challenging parts for us, especially after pregnancy and just, wanting to heal and just try to get back into shape. And
But I think it's good to know too that during perimenopause, she was always wishing she had her mom to talk to about her experience going through that.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and CCL has just been awesome because it's given her a way to reach out and ask questions and get the support she needs because
Wonderful.
she didn't have her mom to lean on during that
Right.
time.
Right. So you've been able
yeah.
to find resources.
Yeah, I talked to Stacy Nagel several times. In fact, during COVID, she did like a class, like a Zoom class, and it like kept cutting out because there was 6 of us on the internet, or the kids were doing online school. And Stacy was so great. She did her class and like a Zoom on it, and then she sent me a book, the one that's the post baby and then perimenopause, and that was a great resource. And I would call Stacy and I'm like, hey, some of my friends and I are dealing with it, and it helped me, and I think it helped them. And so, yeah, Stacy is great. So
Yeah, she rocks.
Yeah.
So did you feel that kind of, empowerment and freedom to plan or postpone your pregnancies because of your knowledge of your fertility?
Yeah, absolutely. The real gift to us was that we made the decision together when you start NFP that you're always open to life no matter what.
Right.
There's no barriers there. It's a full giving of each other, no matter when it is. And we might get pregnant, and God may have a plan for our life that's different than what we thought, and that's okay. But if you follow the rules, and we tended to be more conservative, and I definitely, if I could go back in time, I would take a class together. I would recommend that. But with the information we had and with her parents and then the resources we had, we just decided to be more conservative at certain times because we weren't comfortable at that point getting pregnant, and it helped us come closer together because it was done, as a couple.
So what is your advice to a young couple that's planning on getting married? You see them at church. What do you say?
There's resources out there, and there's people that are always, wanting or hoping and helping you with this journey. And I just hope that more and more people, learn about it. And, but, I just think too, we started off, we went and talked about an engaged encounter. We're like, and how many of you want to get a divorce? And they're like, it's like, this is one of the best things you can do for your marriage.
And I don't know how often it comes up at church, but we do get to be a mentor couple every so often, some other ministry. So it definitely comes up,
Right, sure.
in those conversations. And that's a great opportunity to witness and to give them resources and contacts. And sometimes at church, all you have is time to say, hey, you should reach out to this teaching couple, or you should
Mhm.
go to CCLI website, or did you
Mhm.
know there's an app for tracking your fertility? It's like, what?
Mhm. Yeah.
So just those little snippets of information are really handy.
Mhm.
Right.
And
And I love giving out the pamphlets that CCLI has. And I used to order a whole bunch of them and just put them in. Our church has like these little pamphlet areas, and I'd
Yeah.
put them in it.
Are you guys still getting the family foundations?
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah. We donate monthly, and so that's part of our deal for being able to get that, which I love. Like my sister does too. I think my sister,
Yeah.
because we just love that magazine. I just look forward to it, and I give it to people.
Cover to cover. Yeah.
Yeah, and I save some for people and just give it out.
Oh,
And it's like,
yeah.
there's articles in here that you'll never find in the mainstream media,
Mhm.
So
well, you had a really good magazine on PCOS. Wasn't that the one you gave to?
I think so.
Yeah,
Annie, yeah.
The couple that was the wife was struggling from that and helped them get pregnant.
Right. And that fertility cycles and nutrition book from Marilyn Shannon,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
she wrote that so long ago and, updated it, of course, but all that information is still so pertinent and
Mhm. Oh, heck yeah.
helpful. How would you explain responsible parenthood to the next generation?
Perfect. So our big job is raising children in the faith first and foremost, and I've told the kids that multiple times. Like, I can share you skills, I can share wisdom, but if you haven't grown in your faith and put your faith first, like that's really the only thing I have to share with you that's worth anything. Everything else is temporal. It's going to pass away. It doesn't last.
Oh,
So your prayer life, your relationship with Jesus, your relationship with God, and putting you on the right path is really our number one job as parents.
mhm.
And so helping them know and love Jesus and to follow the teachings of his church is our goal. And so helping them be informed and well-rounded so they make the best decisions
Mhm.
with um, prayerful consideration of all their options, and that's
Mhm.
just for everything, not just with their sexuality, but
Right,
NFP just blends into that
right, right.
you have all these options, which one's the best, and that's kind of how God's left us here. Is that like He doesn't force us to love Him. We have the free will to make choices, and so
Right. Thank you so much, Josh
you
and
Yeah.
know,
Allison, for, putting the effort into, sharing the good news of NFP with everybody.
Yeah, of course.
uh,
We love it.